Hello and welcome to Dr. Nishants Diary. I have met two famous people in my life, and meeting them was very different an experience than I had imagined it would be. So that's what I'm going to talk about it. I met Anurag Kashyap about 2 years ago, and it was because a friend of mine, Gagan Narula, who's also a wonderful writer and a wonderful actor, invited me to watch a play being produced by Anurag Kashyap in which Kalki Kochlin was acting. So my wife makes me dress up for this play even though I didn't want to, because she says the elite people of Delhi are going to be there and there'll be Anurag Kashyap and Kalki Kochlin and they're going to look so good, and I couldn't fight with her, as you can imagine. So I did dress up, and I went there, and she was right. At the entrance there was the elite class of Delhi. They were dressed so well. There were Audis outside, Porsche's outside, and as soon as I entered, there in front of me was Anurag Kashyap welcoming the guests. And he was dressed in a blue t-shirt with big blue lines and shorts, with sweat around his armpits and a full beard, like he hadn't bothered shaving for about a month, maybe two. And he acted something like this: welcome, 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 welcome to my play, it's so cool to have you here, it's like, dude, man, welcome to my play. And he had just about started getting famous, and it was so wonderful just looking at the way he was, because I've worked with theatre people, I've been in some theatre, and that's what theatre people are like. When they produce art, when they do this stuff, they don't really care about all the external appearances. And it was so nice to see someone who has become famous, but still maintains that. So yeah, it was fun. Every year in most Hindi institutes of North India, government institutes, we have something called a Hindi Pakhwada, which is a contest to encourage Hindi in these institutes, and I take part in the Kavita Lekhan, the Hindi poetry writing contest. Last year I took part and I didn't place at all, which was obvious because the other people were really good. And but I did attend the Hindi Kavi Sammelan, where they call famous poets to give prizes to the people who had won. And in that Kavi Sammelan was this person who hosted it, and he was so good, you couldn't tell whether he was doing stand-up comedy or whether he was saying poetry, but in the end you'd get these amazing messages from the things that he had said about society and about life. He was a Vyangi Lekhak, which is, he writes sarcastic poetry about our life, and he was awesome. And no matter how much I tried later on to tell my wife the same jokes and poems, it didn't work the same way because of the way he told them, and it really encouraged me to think newly about the poetry I was writing. So this year I took part and I came in third. I sang one of the original poems I've written, and it was so cool because I beat a lot of like hardcore Hindi poem writers. So about 2 weeks ago I went to a friend's house because he had invited me to do a photo shoot with my wife about a show that he was pitching to NTV Good Times. And part of the photo shoot was in his wife's house, and when we went to his wife's house, I noticed that in the drawing room were pictures of this poet that I had seen last year. There was pictures with Vajpayee, there was pictures of him receiving mementos, there were mementos, and there were his books with his poems. And I asked her, is your dad a poet? And she says, yes. You didn't know? I didn't know. And my friend tells me not only is he a poet, he is the #2 poet in the country. First, I didn't know they had rankings for poets, but they have rankings for everything else in the world, so I guess that makes sense. Not only is he the #2 poet in the country, his father was #1 for a long time, and his grandfather was #1 throughout his career. Imagine living up to that. No wonder he's a Vyangi Lekhak, a sarcastic poet. I was so happy coming third in the Hindi Pakhwada. Can you imagine him having to live up to his father and his grandfather? Anyways, he's a wonderful person, Mr. Arun Gemini, and if you go to YouTube and type Arun Gemini, you'll get videos with thousands and thousands of hits of him. And so this is what I learned from these two people. Anurag Kashyap, that making art is making art, no matter how famous you get. It's the same process, and you're going to end up looking the same. And Mr. Arun Gemini, because I think you should be really happy about the things you've made. So if you've made a poem and 10 people like it, be happy about it, because the #2 poet in the country has so much to live up to. So yeah, be happy about your art. If you like my channel, do subscribe. Thank you.